types of companies will be the ones. I know that Four Loko, who targets the kids, they've been warned about it. Our Attorney General and a number of Attorneys General across the country have actually written them letters saying to basically cease and desist some of these products that they're selling. Already have some of these alcohol beverages at 14 or 15% alcohol, which is much higher than the Budweiser that folks get, and it's causing some kids putting them in some trauma and some other giving them some other issues where they aren't used to drinking that type of alcoholic beverage. And it causes them some issues. The other issue we have in Ohio is that beer is taxed at a much lower rate than any kind of other alcohol-based beverage. And so what happens is these Alka-Pops, the Mike's Hard Lemonade, all of these kind of more fruity drinks that appeal to kids a lot more, actually are considered a beer. So we don't get the taxes that we would, and that would actually, if it was reconsidered from being a beer, that would actually cut down, all of our environmental strategies. As if you raise the tax of a beer or an alcoholic beverage, that it does help with reduce underage drinking, and this is true in this case. If we would be able to get a higher tax on the Mike's Hard Lemonade, make it a higher higher priced item, studies over and over have shown that this would actually reduce underage drinking and drinking alcohol use in general, because people are conscious of the price point. So we really are, I urge you to contact your legislator in the House to urge, air your concerns, that we understand that the craft brewers, their concerns, but also we do not want Four Loko to move in here and have a 15% beer. We don't want Mike's Hard Lemonade or any of the other Alka-Pop types of groups to come in and have these types of fruity beverages that are marketed to kids. So really urge you to continue your work on this. I put a picture of Frankenstein. We thought he was dead. Someone's recreated him and created a monster. So there's your symbolism for the day. But that is something really, really we have to pay attention to. A lot of this is going to be on marijuana today, but we can't lose sight. There's also some harm reduction pieces that we know are going through. The Good Samaritan bills need some support right now to get through. Which is basically, the Good Samaritan bill is basically if two people are using heroin together, and the person calls 911, and that person who calls 911 when their friend is in some kind of overdose state, that person wouldn't be prosecuted for having the heroin. So there's those bills going through. And then we also have a lot of attention on the needle exchange programs. New York State actually, this is going kind of crazy, so we've really got to pay attention to this. New York State just introduced a bill, one of the legislators there, to give heroin to heroin addicts because of the purity, because they are cutting it with fentanyl now. I don't know if that really solves any kind of addiction problem when you're just basically giving heroin to heroin addicts. That doesn't help the person. But those are the types of laws we have to watch here, and we do every day. And really, really appreciate all that you do in your advocacy efforts to let folks know that some of these bills or some of these concepts are not really public health sensitive. Also, yesterday we were contacted by Senator Rob Portman about the CARA bill, and the CARA bill is basically the federal bill to to deal with the drug crisis, specifically the opiate crisis, and it was co-sponsored by Senator Portman, and they did say that it should pass the full Senate this week. They gave me an updated list with all the amendments in it, and basically there were 7 titles that were that were put into this bill. One was for funding for prevention and education. The second title was for more funding for law enforcement and treatment. Also treatment and recovery, addressing any collateral consequences. And then there were addiction and treatment services for women, families, and veterans to really, we know that we have an issue with veterans coming back from overseas, especially situations of war, and having issues with opiates. We also know that there are more babies being born, that are addicted to opiates than we've had before. Also, incentivizing state comprehensive initiatives, and then there's Title VII, which is an offset program. Basically what they've had is that there will be $80 million in funding attached to this bill for opiate relief, opiate addiction relief. And there was an amendment introduced by a senator last week, which was actually taken out to add another $600 million to that to really put some teeth into this. This amendment was not passed. Narrowly, it failed. But we do know that $80 million right now is being put into this bill from. And it's being taken from other programs, so it's not like new money or something that we that was found, but it is being taken from other non-defense spending programs. We're hoping, talking with Sue Thaw a few weeks ago, we're hoping that this money isn't being taken from our normal streams of funding, whether it be the CSAP grant or the SAMHSA block grant. We don't want that to go away. We want this to be additional funding. So we're still working with them on that. Some of the things that, as far as prevention, is there calls for is a national public awareness campaign. That would be done, I don't know by who, I'm guessing it's someone at the federal level. Although in some of these situations, coalitions, the Red Ribbon program was given to a lady down in Florida whose name escapes me right now. The National Families in Action, they're another group in Georgia. They had a national parents national awareness program type of thing. So it could be given to a state, some kind of state group to head up, but they really do want a national public awareness campaign. I have a question of how does CARA work with the money allocated for 2017? It actually would be an increase in funding. So on top of what President Obama put in his budget, this would be another $80 million put in. This is not part of the President's budget plan. This is an additional money. And hopefully it will pass the Senate this week. There would also be an increase in coalition funding, which is, in my opinion, really, really great news. Some of the things that we are a little bit concerned about is, to receive this additional coalition funding, you've had to have received a DFC grant, and I don't know whether that is a grant, currently, or whether that you've been a past DFC grantee. I'm still trying to find out some answers. That and the coalition funding would also be targeted at communities where they have higher rates of local opioid misuse. So I can see the point of the second. I don't. My thing is I obviously really appreciate what the DFCs are doing, but there's a lot of coalitions out there that have not received DFC grant funding, especially if you're not a current DFC grantee, that do tremendous work And that is our concern, is that we really need to open this up to coalition. Fantastic work and not so much a designation. So that's our concern with that. We will be issuing a public statement that I'll share with everybody later in the week about this, the car bill. We will be talking a lot about how happy we are that this is being passed to the Senate, how much it is needed. Funding needs continue in our local communities, and those types of things. I will share that with you when we do get that finished. So that is on the federal level, and then finally we're going to get to marijuana. There is a House Marijuana Task Force hearing this week at 7 p.m. That's Thursday night at 7 p.m. at the Statehouse. Again, it is a 15-member panel. There are 3 legislators and then 12 community members. There are folks, a couple of folks from Responsible Ohio, and then there's what I think is on the pro-legalization side. The majority of members are on the science side. There's a lot of business. There's a business owner. There's some treatment folks. There's some folks that there's a medical doctor on there, and then legislators are for the most part for us. There's also a Children's Hospital representative, which is also pushing for more of a science and FDA-based solution to this, that we should wait for these medications. In speaking with the members that I have in closed-door meetings, there is no direction on this issue. They have gotten no types of formulation of a plan or anything. They're waiting until this is done. And frankly, they've mostly heard from the pro side. I want to thank those who have testified before. We have a lot of folks in the next couple of hearings. I may have to rejuggle a couple of them, so I may be giving you a call. Yesterday, I talked to Chairman Schuring of this committee, and he asked me to take some folks from the 31st and try to put them for this week because of the fact that we have so many people testifying, which is great news. Absolutely love this. We have so many people testifying. He says we'll start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and testify till 2 in the morning if we continue to do it like this. So he's asked me to kind of juggle some schedules of some folks. So I may be giving you a call to see if you'd be available to talk this week instead. And our side, we have a lot of different folks. We've got coalition members, but business folks have called, law enforcement, physicians, treatment providers, rounded out group of folks who are going to be testifying on Thursday. Got another question. Can coalitions submit written testimony? Absolutely. We encourage you. If you can't come down to the State House, submit it to the Ohio House, and I know it's Rep 48 at ohio.house.gov, I think is the website. I can send that out to folks who are on this call after I get done here, but I'm pretty sure, I know it's Rep 48. It's just the ohio.house, or whether it's Ohio House. So I think it's Rep 48 at ohio.house.gov, but we'll send that out as soon as we get done here. But please, if you can't come, have your written testimony to these folks, and it will go to Representative Schuring, and he will be putting it all out to the other members of the committee. Some tips on testifying. Someone asked, I'm a little bit nervous about doing this, or what are some tips that you might give? The first, it's a lot of there's some formalities there. In the very beginning, always address, Chairman Schuring and the members of the House Marijuana Task Force. Thank you so much for testifying. Again, that's just a courtesy and way that folks do it. Just mention Chairman Schuring and the rest of the members. Thank you so much. Thank them for testifying. Make your testimony really, really succinct. There's nothing worse, and you'll see it if you go too long. They'll start checking their cell phones. They'll start, I've seen testimonies drone on. Usually it's about what was the one? Oh my gosh, one I sat through that was terrible. It was by the people who do the the driving courses for individuals. Oh my gosh, that guy wouldn't shut up. And I mean, people walked out. Legislators walked out. So make it about short, 5 to 7 minute. Get to the point. What is your what is it that you want to say? And then they will ask questions afterwards. Be prepared to take some questions. Again, most of the people are on our side on this committee. Chief antagonist, who asks some questions, but we know how to answer these. Is Jimmy Gould, who is a responsible Ohio investor. He seems to be the person who will ask some of the kind of oddball questions. But I go back to whatever your testimony is saying. This is why I'm here, and those types of things. And Chairman Schuring is extremely adamant about no cheering, no booing, no shenanigans, and he will use the House Chief of Arms to take people out of the committee. He said it. He will state that. So you don't have to worry about this being like a Senate hearing where you're going to get cheered or some senator is going to yell at you. He runs a very, very tight ship. Will everyone who is interested in testifying be able to, if they attend the hearing? What is that? Oh, no. If you come to the hearing, and what will happen when you get to the hearing, what will happen is there will be a sign-up sheet at the front. I have submitted the names that have been given to me. If there are names, like I can't put youth, or person in treatment, or some of those other things. I have to have a name of a person. But when you get there, go up to Stephen Alexander, or they usually are at the front, and just ask to sign in and sign the witness list. And that's after the folks who have kind of pre-registered. That's the folks who will come next. And Chairman Schuring actually shared with me, he says, don't care. He said, really, the way we're doing this, it doesn't matter where you show up on the hearing list. He says sometimes, the last thing that's heard is what rings in your ears the rest of the night. So it is something that you walk in, get there about 10 or 15 minutes beforehand, dress nicely. One of the comments that I've heard from a couple of different task force members is that the folks who are on the pro side tend to wear, some of them tend to wear hockey jerseys and T-shirts, or ties with marijuana leaves on them, or for whatever reason continue to wear their baseball cap. That doesn't. This is a House hearing. As as my old baseball coach used to say, at first I would always celebrate after I'd steal a base or something, and my coach, drew me aside and said, "Will you please act like you've been here before?" So basically, dress nicely, get there about 10 or 15 minutes beforehand, go up to the front of this room, and sign. It's in room 313. Sign the testimony sheet, and then you'll be asked to testify in that order. I have a couple of folks who have given me some youth, and I think it is an extremely important group to hear from. So we do have that you think is really, really polished and someone who can address this issue. Absolutely, I think we need more young people, because they're this and you know, all the kids are smoking pot anyway, and that type of stuff. And you know, we need to hear from youth from our side as well. So really, you know, I've submitted the list, but if you want to come, I'll get you the email or submit written testimony. It's the same email. It's all going to Representative Schuring's office, and they're coordinating this. So really excited about, you know, for the next, the 10th, the 17th, the 31st, really, really excited about the number of folks who have volunteered and who are going to testify. We also have some college individuals, some college professors, and some PhD students in public health who are also testifying, which I think will really make an impact as well. So thank you again. If you have any questions or anything about how to testify, what to say, those types of things, that you know, please email me or call me, and you know, I would like to take the high, I think there's 12 different sections, and split that up so someone talks, you know, mentions adult marijuana use and the increase in Colorado, the youth marijuana use, and you know, what's going on in Colorado, drug driving, and all of these different things that they have in the HIDA report. Would be really, really helpful, and rely on that. What message does the task force need to hear that they haven't heard? What haven't they heard? They haven't heard nearly enough about edibles, about what is going on in Colorado, about the HIDA report, about some of those issues, and what we keep saying, and what we're going to really, really encourage folks to do. If you're going to go down this road, then let's make sure it's science-based and not based on anecdotes or stories. Keep pumping that whole science-based, FDA-based, this is how we do medicine, that type of thing. They need to hear that, I think, over and over, and tie it to something that is going on in Colorado that you know is a problem. So that is what, you know, they just need to hear it over and over again. You know, and also, what is going on in the communities, in Ohio communities? Do we already have issues with, so if you have some stats to say we've already got a problem. I know that business folks are going to be saying, and hearing it from more than one business is also valuable in this, hearing it that we have an issue right now with trying to find people who can pass a drug test, who have, say, you know, how do we keep our workforce safe? We haven't, you know, those continued messages will get through, and from what research tells us, you know, the person has to hear it somewhere between 3 to 7 times to get it. Somebody said 20 once, and I think they were a little overdone in their research, but you know, we hear about 3 to 7 times. Have they heard about from parents concerned about legalization? No. And if you testify, I think this is very, very a very valid point. There's a parent trying to raise a young person. Yes, I am a community member. Yes, I do have a coalition. I'm a physician. I'm a law enforcement officer. But my number one job is trying to keep my child safe. That absolutely needs to be said. There were a couple of parents that came to the hearing, and their children had both been killed. Or one was a child who had been killed, and the other was a spouse who had been killed by medical marijuana card holders that had came over from Michigan, were high, hit and killed their kids. That was extremely impactful testimony to those folks. And when I talked to the members of this the members of the task force behind closed doors, those are the testimonies I get to hear that really personal thing as well. So it's more than just stats. It is actually, personal stories are always good, and why you as a citizen, God knows they're telling personal stories about sick kids and everything else. Our side needs to have the science, but also those personal, if you can tie it in somehow personally, that's also impactful. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Here's another one, actually. Are any of those lined up to testify discussing the high THC dab contents and dangerous edibles? A few of them might be. The dabbing, I don't think has been addressed, but again, we need to keep reiterating what the concerns are. The edibles, truly a concern. 45% of all are in the edible form. So this is a real issue out there. It's a real issue that more kids are going to emergency rooms because of these edibles. The dabbing is also something that it's been brought on by this legal market out there that they never had any idea was happening. So again, if they can hear it a number of times, that this is a concern of ours, and it's not, this is not the Woodstock weed that we've had from long ago. This is some real powerful stuff that is much more, much more of a drug than we could have ever imagined, and has much higher tendency to create issues for an individual than we ever thought with marijuana. This is not the marijuana of old. This is a new, stronger, more potent product, and we need to make sure they hear that over and over, and that would be a concern of ours as community members. So if you have any questions, let me know. Going on to, we do have a couple, I know I'm going over a little bit, but we do have a couple of ballot initiatives that have also popped up in the last in the last week, actually. The Marijuana Policy Project, which is the national group from D.C. that likes to pass these things, they've passed them in Colorado, Washington, Arizona. Probably the go to the other side. Oh no, you're good. Those are the three most egregious states as far as the issues that they are having, and they're the ones behind all of those ballot initiatives that are. And right now, the head of the Central Ohio Normal, and the former head of the Ohio Rights Group, John Pardee, are heading this up. They're going to finance signatures mostly. However, they also want 200,000 signatures by volunteer efforts. That's a huge ask. So I don't know if this will ever get on the ballot. I'm going to treat it like it will, because again, if they see some kind of promise, I think they're going to go for it, type of thing. They keep quoting that 3 out of 4 people want medical marijuana in our state. Again, I think we have to stay on the side. You know what? We aren't against marijuana as medicine. We're against the way that it's being done, and if it's done through an FDA or science-based process, we've got a couple of drugs ready to be released by the FDA, and Epidiolex for the kids with the seizure disorders, or Sativex for those with cancer pain. Then you know what? Bring it on. They don't get you high. They are products that are headed up by, that are developed under research and science and are prescribed by a doctor. Those two drugs, let's do it this way. Quite frankly, I think the Marijuana Policy Project is running out of time. I think that's why they are being so desperate in these in these states, because science is going to catch up to them, and also the release of these drugs. They won't be able to use the kids with the epilepsy anymore because Epidiolex will be on the market. They won't be able to use Sativex will be on the market. And again, these are not things that will get you high. They're actually through a pharmacy, prescribed by a doctor, and able to they would be able to be dispensed at any CVS or anything like that, and not a pot shop. But they are on the they're trying to collect signatures now, I guess. Their language was released last week, and basically what it says is that you have to be 21 years old, and you could get 2.5 ounces of medical marijuana every 14 days, or 150, basically 150 joints. Now the issue with 2.5 ounces is, and 150 joints, is if you're high constantly, you would use about 6 joints a day. I mean, and that's the regular stuff. That's the 3% THC type of stuff, 3 to 5. To get that high, and it lasts about 4 hours, so you have to use 6 a day. 6 times 14, from the last math I had, which was in high school, so I may be wrong, was about 84 joints. So basically you can get 2 times the number of joints with this plan than you would, than actually is needed. It's like being prescribed, a doctor says, oh, I'm going to give you 10, you're going to be sick 10 days, and they give you pills for 10 days. However, he puts 20 in the prescription bottle. I mean, what do you do with it? Well, it's going to go to the black market. It's going to be sold under the under the guise of medicine and those types of things. And the other piece, some other pieces, there are not a number of stores identified. So basically we could have, we talked about 1,140 stores last year. There's no plan on how many stores. You could have, you have 10,000 stores, I guess, as long as the market, is available for that. They also have a kind of a quirky business plan, which is what I'm focusing on when I'm talking about this to reporters and to legislators. They have a type 1 plan, which 15 individuals have to donate or whatever, have to pony up $500,000 up front. And then there's a type 2, which is $5,000 up front to So basically, it's kind of responsible Ohio all over again in the fact that 15 individuals with a ton of money will be able to own these Type 1 licenses, which allows you 25,000 square feet of marijuana growing, and that's flowering marijuana. So it doesn't talk about the plants that are they're seedlings or anything like that. This is flowering marijuana plants. And the other interesting piece is that they will be able to start growing their marijuana August 1st of 2017. The Type 2s will not be able to start growing theirs until November 1st. So basically the rich people not only are allowed a lot more square footage space, they're also allowed to start first. So basically we're allowing Walmart to start much earlier than a little mom and pop shop. So they're going to be able to, and there's nothing about pricing or anything else in this thing. So it really is favoring the rich and the investors, and going to be a profit-based system. This is not something, if this is medical marijuana, and this is a medical marijuana initiative that we're talking about, and it's based on profit. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Dispensaries would open in February of 2018, and there would be no local control. Basically, you would have to have an election to how many, a local election, to how many dispensaries you'd have, but you cannot prohibit dispensaries in your area. So if you have a some kind of local ordinance or something, that would be null and void, because this would be written again into the Ohio Constitution. So those are some issues that we're having. We're going to have a document coming out soon with these types of concerns. This is 18 pages, so trying to get this down into our concerns is quite time-consuming. But we'll get you something very, very soon. But there's another group that is coming up that also introduced their language, and they're interestingly enough called Grassroots Ohio. And they're kind of literally a grassroots-driven organization run by Don Wirtschafter, who has been a long-time medical marijuana advocate. It literally, for as long as the other one goes on, 18 pages, this is 1 page long. So, if you get a little bit of time, or you're, in the bathroom or something, you can literally read this thing out. And there's no direction. There's no limits on the amount. The only thing it says you have to be age of majority. There's nothing about how much you can have, what the system looks like, except there's 2 things that are involved. It removes marijuana from the Schedule I list, and also kids would get it without parental consent. So if you're a child, you could get it administered by a licensed physician, but it doesn't say that those under the age of majority would have to get parental consent. So if there's just so little direction. I think one of my quotes to one of the reporters was that it looks like it was written back on the back of a cocktail napkin after a night of drinking. So it probably wasn't very nice. Really, I don't see this going anywhere. It really is not a whole lot of money behind it. It's something that I talked to the guy, this Don, that drafted it. He said, rights. The Constitution is a rights drafted document, and he didn't want to put a lot of prescription inside of the Ohio Constitution. And I think that's what we have so far. So I've got some questions here that I'll answer real quickly. The 21% ABV in a 12-ounce can is binge drinking. Legislators should know the impact on overall health. Absolutely. So yes, if you drink a beer and you have a 21%, that's 21% alcohol limit in that. That's equal to 4 drinks, which is a binge drinking episode. That's exactly right, and that should be given to legislators. And there's some I can resend them. There's some great CDC types of documents that I can send out, and those types of things. And I think maybe they're not. I don't know. I can look if they're on the website, but I'll send them back out again. But those types of binge drinking types of information, I think, is extremely valuable. Can past testimony be reviewed to get a tone? I think it is on a website somewhere. It has to be. Actually, it's public information. Any testimony given, that's another important consideration. Anything you say in this testimony, so make sure your stats are accurate, is a public document. Anybody in the world will be able to see it. I will check to see what where those are stored, and if I can get everybody's testimony that has been given before, and I got a lot to do after this webinar. Well, everyone who is interested in testifying be able to, if they attend the hearing. Yes. He has said he will extend hours. That's why he wanted it more spread out, because he's going to hear every testimony that is everyone who wants to testify. When will Epidiolex and Sativex projected to be on market? This is another question. From what I'm hearing, later this year. Epidiolex has, that's what they're aiming for, and Sativex is a little bit behind, but Epidiolex, we're hoping will be on the market later this year, which again takes away a strong talking point for them. So I think that's why they're kind of scurrying to get these things passed. Is DFAA testifying on a particular day? Yes, I'll be testifying on Saturday. Yeah, that'd be great. Nobody will be there. On Thursday night, this Thursday, the 10th. So I will send everyone my testimony as well. And repeat the times of the hearings. So the 10th will be 7 p.m. at night. The 17th and the 31st will both be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So 7 o'clock will be the last evening testimony, and all of them are done in room 313. So what you want to do is you go into the State House from the underground garage. You go up, you go through security, and then there's an elevator off to your left. If you take that elevator and go up to the 3rd floor, you get off, and it's to the left, and you walk through this little room, and it's right there. So, just keep turning left, and you should eventually get there. And again, you walk through this room, and it's right on the other side of the room, and there'll probably be a crowd there as well. Are there plans on a press conference on the last day of testimony with DFAA? That's a great idea, actually, and that is something that we should consider. Whoever's idea this was, Amanda, I think Amanda, thank you. I think that is absolutely a great idea. And actually, the 31st is when most people are testifying. So let's actually let us try to throw something together, and especially and it may be before the reporters go home, because it will be in the State House. We'll get a lot of the State House reporters there. We can send it out to them. That's a great idea, Amanda. So let's plan on that, and we will get you information on that. I think it's a great idea. So thank you so much. Can handouts be given out during testimony? You can, yes, as long as they're not too, you don't want to give them a HIDA report. They'll look at that and say, that's 100 and some pages long. But if you have some local information, or you'll need to work with Stephen. Stephen will actually collect those before testimony. Stephen or whoever is going to be doing the testimony sheet that day, get it to them, and they'll be able to get that. You might also, when you testify, also make sure you bring 15 copies so that every member of the committee gets a copy of the testimony. If you want to have the Shuring's office do it, send them, and I think they'll come up with 15 copies, but it's a lot easier if you do, and just bring it, and then when you sign in, give it to whoever is going to be taking those lists. Would it be helpful to try to meet with our legislators to discuss marijuana before testimony? Absolutely. We really, if this, they're going to, I'm guessing they will come up with some kind of bill. It's good to get out in front of it and to give our stance. So please go to your legislator. Here's what our concerns are. Here's what we're looking at as far as that. There are some components that have medical promise, but let's go through a science-based system so that we aren't hurting more people than we're helping, and that it's based on some kind of research instead of some guy named Vinny and a pothead at a dispensary. Yes, someone said Good Samaritan bill to not prosecute those who call in. The Good Samaritan bill would basically be that person who makes that call of a person. If someone is in some kind of overdose state, the person who calls would not be prosecuted. If I did say they would be, that is not true. They would not be prosecuted if they call in. So they would save a life, and then that person would also not be prosecuted who calls in. It's a protection for the caller, basically. And I think that is all of the questions I've never had. We just used a whole thing of Post-its, but I do want to thank you so much, and I'm way over my time. I thank you so much for staying on. If there are any other questions or anything, call me or email me at tcoder@drugfreeactionalliance.org. We'll try to come up with a press conference for the last day And you know, I just appreciate all you're doing, because you know they're starting. You know, they're going to start hearing from us, and you know we have the right way. We have the science based and the way that is true medicine, and we are just really. I'm just so excited about the way this is going to go the next couple of weeks for our side. So thank you so much, and you know, continue to do the good work that you're doing.